thinking about shooting this video for quite a long time, but it's not very popular in searches, so I was still postponing it. But today I decided to do that because it's a pretty important topic, and the topic I will be talking about today is letters from the Ministry of the Interior of the Czech Republic. So if you receive a letter, what does it mean? And I will talk about 4 different types of letters. First one will be Vyzva k odstraneni zadosti, which means a request to deliver some more documents. Vyzva k seznámeni se s podklady pro vydani rozhodnuti. This is a request for you to go check your file. Third will be confirmation of submitting the application, Potvrzeni o podání žádosti. And the fourth one will be informace o neudelení dlouhodobého víza nebo neudelení povolení k dlouhodobému pobytu. So it's like information about not being granted a visa or residence permit. So I will talk about each of these letters more in details, and I will always explain what it means exactly and what you should or should not do. So let's go. First thing is Vyzva k odstraněni žádosti. This is the most common letter. Okay, so I'll start with the most common, which is the confirmation of submitting your application. Anytime you go submit your application in person, this doesn't apply if you submit your application via mail, if you just mail it to them, but if you go in person, every time you submit your application, you should get a confirmation that you submitted the application. It's one piece of paper which has some, like always the same structure. On the left up corner there is your application number, below that is your name, then there is a confirmation of what kind of application you submitted, so it's like a long-term residence permit, purpose of studies or family reunification, whatever, and below that is a signature of you and also of the person of the Ministry of the Interior. This you should get every time you submit some application, because that's a confirmation that the application was actually submitted. Because if you just submit the application and you don't get this confirmation, if they lose your file, what will you do? You will say, yeah, I was there and I submitted the document. And they will say, yeah, you were not here. Do you have any like record of that on your phone or something? And they could easily deny that they like accepted the application or that they took your documents. It doesn't really happen that much now, but in the past they used to lose files. So it was pretty important to always have a record of you submitting some documents, either the full application or just sending them some documents on top of the normal application. So that's the most common one. Second most common one is Vyzva k odstraněni žádosti, which means basically a request to correct mistakes in your application, which generally means submitting more documents. And this is a very important document, so be careful. If you receive this one, be careful, because the ministry tells you basically, we confirm that you submitted your application, but the application, there are some mistakes with your application, and you need to correct these mistakes by doing this in this amount of time. So they always specify 2 things, exactly what you are missing and what documents they want, and second, how much time you have it to deliver the documents. And that's very important. I'll start from the back. And that's how much time you have to deliver the documents. This is kind of like a hard line. So it's not like if they tell you you have 30 days to deliver the documents, it doesn't mean that you, okay, it's 35 days, let's send it to them now. We'll see what happens. What will happen is that they will deny the application because they gave you a strict deadline. And if you don't stick to the deadline, it can be a reason to deny your application. Of course, you can request an extension of the deadline if like really necessary, but it's always best to avoid it and send them the documents in time, at least some of them, and then request the extension. But if they ask you for 10 documents, you don't send them any in time, and then you request the extension, they might not even grant you the extension because you haven't shown any effort. So always keep this as a hard line when you should have the documents ready and sent to the ministry. Then the first part is what you are actually missing. And this is a bit tricky because in some cases they can specifically tell you what exactly they want from you. So like you submitted health insurance, but the health insurance expires on the 31st of December. If you don't submit a new insurance with a longer validity, your visa will be shortened. And it will be only valid until the 31st of December. So this is a very specific of what they want. They want new insurance contract valid for more than until the end of the world. So until the end of the year. But in some cases, for example, proof of your income, that's usually like 4 pages of description, but basically 3.9 of the pages, of the 4 pages, is just like a general bullshit. They tell you, if you're a freelancer, you can potentially prove your income by this and this and this. If you're an employee, you could potentially prove your income by this and this and this. And it's like really 3 or 4 pages just of this kind of general text, which is not useful to you at all. It might if you have no idea what you're doing, but if you have no idea what you're doing, you should hire someone to help you with that. But even if you speak Czech, you can read everything. Like 95% of the letter is not important, it's just a general information. And then there is just like 1 sentence or 2 sentences which kind of specify what they want from you. But it doesn't have to be that specific as in the first example I gave you with the insurance. It can be just, you haven't submitted any proof of income, please submit it in the form you see above. And that's referring to the general bullshit they write there. So if you receive a letter like that, if you go through our services from the very beginning of the application, so you come to us and you say, hey, move to Prague, I would like to apply for my extension or for my permanent residence permit or whatever. In these cases, we have a power of attorney in your case, which means that we will be representing you in front of the Ministry of the Interior. So we will receive all these letters for you. And when they come to us, we know exactly what we need to do. And we either do it on our own, acting on your behalf, or we will get in touch with you saying, okay, we've received this letter of like from the ministry, and this is what we need from you. Please deliver us this and this and this and this. And we tell you exactly what we need, when we need to get it done. Because we know we've seen like not thousands, that would be a lie or overestimation, but like hundreds of letters from the ministry. So we know exactly what they need and in the form they need it. Yeah, so if you don't go through us from the beginning, then I would still recommend you to get in touch if you receive a letter like that, because it's important. If you receive just this one letter, I will talk about a different letter which is way more important and way stronger, and it's like almost the end of your journey in the Czech Republic if you don't act accordingly. But this one is still showing you, pointing out that there is some mistake in your application. And the ministry tells you how to repair the mistake. So you still have a like pretty good chance of approval. You just need to do what they want from you and in the way they want you to do it. And if you have no experience with that, you can mess it up if you try to do it on your own. So I would, even in that case, I would recommend getting in touch with us so we can tell you what exactly the ministry wants, how they want to see it, when you need to deliver it, and increase your chances that the application will be approved. The third type of letter is the trickiest, and I actually see a lot of mistakes in that, especially from people on Facebook. So if someone from Facebook is watching me now, please guys, listen carefully. If you receive a letter titled, let me read the exact, Vyzva k seznámení se s podklady pro vydání rozhodnuti. Basically, they give you opportunity to go check your file. If you receive a letter like this, like immediately take your phone, ring us, send us an email and let us know, because that means that your application will be denied if you do nothing. And the letter is worded in the way that even if you translate it, or if you have a Czech person read it, a Czech person who doesn't know what it means, if you just like do a simple translation, it says, we've collected all the documents we need from you to make the decision about your application. You can come check your file. It's your right, but it's not your duty. It's not mandatory. You don't have to come if you don't want to. So it seems like, okay, it's just like a letter. They finish the process. Okay, I will probably be approved. But no, you will most likely or definitely be denied if you don't go check the file. So if you receive this letter requesting you to go check the file, the only thing you should do is go check the file. I wanted to add one more word there, but go check the file. Because they usually give you just a limited amount of time, like 7 days, 10 days, or 15 days. It's usually no longer. And if you don't go within this timeline to check your file, the application will be denied, like 100%. That if they want to approve it, they never send you a letter like this. They just approve it and then they send you a letter that you were approved, or you see it approved online and you book the biometrics or whatever is the next step. But if they send you a letter to go check your file, it means there is a serious problem and that they will deny it if you don't check the file. It can happen in two ways basically. First is that they sent you the previous letter, the request for additional documents. You submitted the documents, but the documents were incorrect. So you did what they wanted, but you didn't do it in the way they wanted that, or you didn't do it in time, so they are now going to deny your application. But they still have to send you this letter. So you would receive a letter saying you can go check your file, we've collected all the documents we needed. So it's first option. Second option is that they don't even send you a request for additional document and they send you this document directly, which usually means that there was like a very significant problem which could not really be fixed by you submitting additional documents, but there is something like pretty bad. But in either case, it means the application will be denied if you don't act and you don't go check the file. So you should definitely go check the file. Then what happens during the check or what happens after checking the file? That's a different story. I will touch the topic briefly now, but definitely if you receive this letter, like don't wait, get in touch and like try to sort it out. Because when you go to check your file, what you should do is that you go through all the documents you submitted and you try to find a mistake or the problem, the reason why they are trying to deny the application. And you tell them that you want some time to fix that mistake and you fix that mistake and you still have a chance to get approved. It doesn't mean that you receive this letter, you go check the file and you will anyway be denied. It's your last chance to do something about it. So you can still be approved, but you need to approach it in the right way. So go check the file. Ideally, if you don't have us or a lawyer or anyone like experience, I'm not talking your Czech speaking friend, please guys, stop doing that. That you speak Czech is not a qualification to give advice in anything else than maybe speaking Czech, but definitely not in visa assistance or anything like that. So if you just have a friend who tells you, yeah, I will go there with you and I will check it because I speak Czech. No, that he speaks Czech or she speaks Czech doesn't mean that they understand what's going on there. They can translate this letter for you, but they will not tell you that it means that the visa will be denied because they have no knowledge about the immigration. So please guys, hire someone who understands what's going on. And then you go there, and if no one is there with you who understands, you should always take photos of all the documents you submitted, because the ministry also adds their own documents, not only the documents you submitted originally, but also they were collecting documents on their own. And from those, we can usually tell. When I go there, usually doesn't happen too much to our clients. So we often go there with people who were not our clients and then just got to the situation. And from like just looking at the documents, I can almost immediately and almost always tell what is the problem. Because the ministry also has their own like handwritten notes, and they have printed emails, and they have other evidence they collected. They might have some like questions, like answers of questions they sent to your employer or to your school or somewhere, and I can also almost immediately tell what's the problem. And then we usually tell them, okay, we've checked the file, we want to give you some more documents or some like explanation within certain amount of time, and then they give you that amount of time, and you can still like fix the problem, but you need to approach it really seriously, because if you don't fix the problem, the application will be denied. So that was the third type of letter you can receive from the ministry. And then the fourth type of letter is information about not being granted a visa or residence permit. That's the last step. You can still appeal it, so it's not like the end of the journey, but basically it is. If they already denied, that the appeal might be pretty difficult depending on the situation, but generally if the ministry denies something, they must have reasons for that. Like, it doesn't really apply to visas, long-term visas. They can deny just because they don't like the color of your shirt, for example, because there is no legal right to get a Czech visa. But if you're applying for a residence permit already, or its extension, then they need to have some real reason. And if they already deny that, they probably have a reason. So you can appeal it, but generally appeals only work if the ministry made some mistake. Not you made a mistake, that you didn't send them some documents or the documents were incorrect, but that the ministry made some mistake. And because of the mistake, they deny the application. So in that case, you can appeal it and you have a chance. If the denial is basically your fault, then you probably don't have high chances to get the appeal successful. But if they send you this letter, they have to explain exactly why they are denying the application. So they need to quote the law, they need to like list all the documents you submitted, what exactly you submitted, what was written there, why they don't like it, by which paragraph of which law they made the decision, all that. So it's actually at least a good feedback for you what not to do next time. So we also see this often, that people contact us, yeah, I applied for my family reunification visa myself and it's denied, so I want to apply again and I just need this information from you or whatever. Again, if you already got once denied, don't do it again next time. Okay, what will you change in the application that like now you were denied once and now you will not be denied? Like what changed? You became an immigration expert in that meantime? Of course, this letter can help you a lot, because that's what we always recommend, that if you get denied, before you want to submit any appeal or before you want to submit a new application, always make sure that you get the letter with the information stating the reasons for the denial, because it can tell you how high chances you have if you reapply. Because generally, if the decision was, or the denial was made based on you missing some documents or something, then if you reapply, the chances are pretty high, because if you don't miss these documents again, okay, that might be possible and you can get approved, that's fine. But if there is some serious problem or like couple problems, it might also mean that you will never get the visa, or again, or that it will be very difficult for you to get the visa. So from this letter, if I read it, I can tell exactly what was the problem and what are your chances of getting a new visa or the same type of visa if you reapply. If you just read that letter yourself, you might understand something if you have a Czech speaker to translate it or whatever. So you might, if it's like obvious, like you didn't provide this document, that's why we denied you. Okay, that might be kind of easy to understand, but there might be other things you will not just understand, because it's kind of like written in between the lines or behind the lines. I don't know how you say it in English, but you can only understand that if you've seen like tens and thousands or whatever. Sorry, it's like almost 11 o'clock at night, so my brain is not the freshest already. But if you've seen a lot and you understand how the processes work, and like if the ministry says this or this, what it actually means, because when they write it, it says one thing and it can mean one thing, but it can also have other meanings which you might not understand if immigration is not what you do. So those were the 4 main letters you can receive from the ministry. Let me know if you've received some other letter which I didn't mention, and I might cover it in my next video. And I will now answer your questions really swiftly. So let's see. Rakib Ahmed. I'm going for permanent residency exam for first time. Is it free or no? I'm going to take the A2 language test for permanent residency for the first time on 2nd October. I want to know if I can get a free voucher from the ministry for the first time, or do I have to pay 2,500? Honestly, I'm not sure, because the ministry was supposed to cancel these vouchers, so they should not provide it anymore. But I'm actually not sure if they already stopped, because it should be like a gradual process, that they will not say like stop it now, but they should kind of make it complicated to get it, and then they should stop. So if I should guess, I would say, yeah, they stopped that already and you cannot get the free voucher. But the best would be like get in touch with the ministry or get in touch with me, and I will find it out, because it should be easy to find out. I just have not had anyone who would need that voucher in the recent time, or we had, but they already had the vouchers from before, because this came alongside with the change of the law in July this year, so just a couple months ago. And I actually didn't follow up with the ministry about that. So they were definitely willing to or wanting to cancel it, and they will no longer provide the free vouchers for the exam. But I'm not sure if they actually like hard stop that, or if there is a still chance you can get it. Colino Best. Hello, good evening, sir. Please, I'm waiting for my appointment date in Czech Republic Embassy, but in the invitation letter, then right, I supposed to fly in Czech 1st of December. But I have never got appointment date. Is it possible again, sir? I'm not actually sure what you mean, Colino, because you mentioned you've been waiting for appointment date in Czech Republic Embassy, but in the invitation letter, then write that I supposed to fly Czech 1st of December. I don't know what you mean by that. So the embassy sent you some letter and invited you for an interview, and you just don't know if that's the appointment date or not, or what do you mean exactly? I don't understand the question, honestly. And that was the last question anyway. So please, I will give you maybe 30 seconds. So if you can explain more, if you're still online, if you can explain more in the chat what you exactly mean, I'll be happy to answer. If not, or if you're already gone, guys, if you who are watching have some questions, please feel free to ask. If not, then I will finish the live stream in a couple of seconds. Meanwhile, as you knew, if you've been following me for a long time, you know that I used to do like long live streams where I was answering the questions a lot, and then I usually did a weird dance if I was waiting for someone to write a question. So I would dance for you weirdly. Sunikumar, sir, after denial, reject employee card, we can do anything? As I mentioned, you should definitely wait and receive the denial letter, because then only then you will see if it makes sense to appeal the decision, or if you should apply like for a new application. And the letter will tell you, if you understand and if you also read in between the lines, you will understand if it makes sense to apply again. Because if your employee card was denied, I would say in most cases the problem was either you didn't give them some documents or the documents were incorrect, but I don't think it should really happen, because then they should have sent you the other letters, all that. But if they deny it kind of directly, then it's very likely that there is a problem with your employer. Because if the problem was on your side, the ministry would request some additional documents, or they would invite you for an additional interview, or they would just like communicate with you. But if they don't communicate with you and they just deny the application, most likely the problem is on the side of the employer. And if the problem is on the side of the employer, then you will hardly fix it yourself. So you can apply again, but with a new employer. But to know exactly what the reasons are, you need to wait for the letter with the information about the reasons why they denied it. Chamuki Bazuki. Okay. All right. Can you use the self-proclamation instead of FBI for the criminal background check if you are a US citizen applying for a work visa? Well, it depends on what you mean work visa. If you mean an employee card or a blue card, then yes. Americans have this exception that you can just swear that you're a good citizen and you can use it for your application, but that only applies to for student as well. But if you mention work visa, then only employee card or a blue card. If by work visa you mean the freelancer visa as an English teacher, for example, or any other, then unfortunately that will not work. If you just sign it at the embassy, it will not work because you need to get a trade license first. And for the trade license, you need to have a specific form of this like declaration, affidavit. Okay, employee card, so in that case, yes, you can just prepare the statement and when you go to the embassy to submit your employee card, you sign it there and that's it. If you're applying for the business visa, then you could still use the affidavit, the sworn statement, but it would need to be signed at the US Embassy in the Czech Republic. Because for the trade license, there is a different law and very specific in what they need. So that would need to go through the US Embassy here. But if it's an employee card application, then you can sign it at the embassy when you're submitting your employee card application. Sunny Kumar, my friend, he's got approval after 8 months. Employee card is possible because my application take up 7 months. Well, yes, it's possible. Unfortunately, the ministry has 60 to 90 days officially, but as you see, it can take them way longer. But it depends on many factors, and I've actually done many videos about this topic. So check some of my previous videos and you'll find information about why it's taken that long and different time for different applications. Seto say, please, is the bank statement more important when applying for a student visa? Well, compared to what? More important than what, or more important when? All the documents you submit are very important, and it's very important to have them in order because all of them are required, and if you have any problem with any of the documents, that can deny your application or it can lead to a denial of your application. So all documents are important. What is important for the bank statement for a student visa is a couple things. First, ideally it should be in your bank account, because if it's in your father's bank account, if it's in your sister's bank account, if it's like your friend's mother's bank account, whatever, how will you use the money in the Czech Republic? Do you have a card linked to your friend's mom account? Probably not. So in that case, the ministry will not accept that because you have no way. It's not enough to show that somewhere in the world there is enough money. You need to show that there is enough money at your disposal that you can use it in the Czech Republic. And the easiest way to do that is to have it in your own bank account and have a debit card linked to that account. That's the only safe way. Anything else, having it in someone else's account or whatever, is always risky. Second thing is that you need to make sure that the money is there during the whole approval process. Not that you just borrow it from your friend or from your mom or whoever, and then you immediately return it after you get the statement, because the ministry can request a new statement, and if they see that you did just this, they will deny the application because it's fraud. You never had the money in your bank account, it was someone else's money, and it's obvious because you transferred it right back. So these are two main things I would say are important for the bank letter for a student visa. Colino, best work invitation for work permit seasonal work. Like you mean that you got like an employment contract or permission to work and it starts on the 1st of December and you haven't got any visa appointment yet? Well, yeah, that's normal. You should have thought about getting an appointment before you paid someone to get you the employment contract, because that's the most common, or one of the most common scams, that companies offer you to get like an employment contract or permission to work, but they actually know that you will never be able to apply for the visa. So it's yeah, that's how it is, because in some countries it's impossible to get appointment for any work-related visas. Samuel Owusu Cheampong, sorry if I'm mispronouncing. My student visa was rejected and I made an appeal. It's 2 months, no decision yet from the ministry. Yeah, that can take forever, because when you make an appeal, they officially have to check your reasoning, and then if they want to deny it again, or like the final denial, they need to reason it back to you. So it usually takes a long time, because if they wanted to approve that, they still need to they need to look good. So it takes long. If they want to deny it, like the final denial, then they need to reason it and they need to go through it and they need to write long letters. So it takes a long time, the appeals. So say, because the ministry told my friends to bring their statement back again after the interview. Yeah, well, yes, this is exactly what I was talking about, that the ministry, because if you're a student, your age is not that high. So they might question, like, if the money is really yours. If you're like 19 years old, you've just finished high school, do you really have like 130,000 crowns in your bank account? So the ministry, and this is actually a pretty common fraud from people's applicant side, that they just borrow the money or borrow the money from someone, deposit it to their account, they get the statement, use it for a visa, and then they return it back. And the ministry knows that, so they check it, and if they see this transaction in your account, they will deny it, because you try to scam the system, so you try to make a fraud. So yes. Okay guys, thank you very much for joining the live stream, watching the video, and I will see you again Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, until the end of the world. See you guys.